Today we're gonna talk about what exactly is this Bitcoin that everybody keeps talking about, but few people seem to understand it. I'm gonna try keeping it in super easy, simple terms. What is up everyone, this is Val from Broke to Hero, and today we're gonna find out what Bitcoin actually is and the whole system behind it. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2014, but just as anyone who is as open-minded as I am, I thought to myself, Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme, scam. I didn't want to know about it, hear about it, or even hear the word Bitcoin. Moving forward to 2018, the price of Bitcoin was 20k, and in a couple of months it got smashed into the ground like most of Mike Tyson's opponents. It was in that moment when I realized there's a genius within me. I'm the chosen one. How's your Bitcoin investment going? Yeah, well, told you so. But as time was passing by, my prophecy of Bitcoin going down to zero wasn't fulfilling. So a couple of years ago, I've decided to read articles and watch videos which were sharing a different perspective. On a daily basis, I was learning about it for hours. Most of the videos and articles were really complicated, therefore not for someone like myself at that time. It took me roughly 1 month and a half when I finally understood everything there is to it and the genius behind Bitcoin. But I've also learned that being open-minded and studying before judging can only bring benefits. I decided to share this story with you because I'm pretty sure that most of you watching this video share the same view as I did. So I decided to wrap it up in one single package so that you won't have to spend hundreds of hours learning about Bitcoin like I did. And off we go. In 2009, an anonymous person calling himself Satoshi Nakamoto launched the Bitcoin code on the web. Bitcoin was meant to be a digital currency, therefore the name cryptocurrency. Basically, it was meant to be an anonymous internet currency controlled by no one. The whole purpose of it was to eliminate the middlemen such as banks and money transferring companies when I, for instance, needed to send you some funds. So it was pretty much pointless for Mr. Satoshi to go into a bank and ask them, hey, can you adopt my coin? But he sure had that covered when Bitcoin was launched. And the solution was brilliant. Blockchain. In order to understand Bitcoin, we need to understand what the blockchain is. And I have a video on that linked into the description below. What the blockchain does is replacing a centralized database, which is what the banks are using for keeping track of all the money, with a decentralized one. That means that each Bitcoin owner becomes automatically a Bitcoin server. All the users have their databases automatically compared to one another, not leaving any room for errors. So, he had the coin and he had a platform to transfer it with. But why do we need Bitcoins when we have other currencies? As mentioned before, every fiat currency is controlled by an entity, and entities are controlled by people. And as you might be aware of, people aren't perfect. The Bitcoin network is only controlled by the code itself, and it was programmed by Mr. Nakamoto to behave the same every step of the way. For instance, Bitcoin has a finite number of 21 million coins that will ever be created. Ever. The US dollar has a finite amount of... it doesn't. By multiplying money, you create inflation and cause them to lose purchase power. I'm sure you might have heard the phrase Bitcoin is digital gold. Just to keep things understandable, I will keep this comparison on a basic level. And also because if we go too deep into this short video will turn into a 5-hour video. So the gold miners take their tools, go into the gold mine and search for the precious metal. On the other hand, Bitcoin miners turn on their super powerful computers to solve equations like this one. By doing that, they achieve two things. They get rewarded with Bitcoin and they assure the maintenance of the network. Now the first one is easily understandable, but what's with the maintenance part? Well, by solving the complicated math equation, they keep Bitcoin's blockchain files up to date. When you send Bitcoin or fractions of Bitcoin known as Satoshis, keeping the network up to date wouldn't be possible without the working miners. By the way, one Satoshi is the 100th million part of one Bitcoin. and that's the smallest denomination of it. Now, after mining gold, the gold mining companies take it on the market to sell it. Similar to that, the Bitcoin mining companies and the miners sell their Bitcoin to be able to maintain the costs of electricity, equipment, employees, etc., which aren't cheap at all. Gold miners sell their product to bullion banks, while Bitcoin miners sell their cryptocurrencies on platforms like Binance, Coinbase, and so on. Wait, is that it? That comparison was stupid. It's like saying that birds and airplanes are alike just because they both fly. Nope, we're just getting into the fun part now. Yeah, but who sets the price for Bitcoin? Who changes it all the time? Well, you are by hitting the like button if you enjoyed this video. Now that you've liked it, check the Bitcoin price. It went up, didn't it? So the price is set up by supply and demand. If on the whole market there are 1000 Bitcoins and the request for Bitcoin is 900 pieces, then it means that the price will go down. On the other hand, if there are 1000 Bitcoins for sale but 1100 Bitcoins in buying requests, the price goes up. So back to gold, which is getting more and more difficult to find, and one day it won't be findable anymore. Bitcoin also has a limited number of coins. Unlike the quantity of gold in the mines worldwide, which can only be estimated, Bitcoin has a finite number of 21 million coins. Every 4 years, Bitcoin becomes harder to mine and the miners will get less Bitcoin for solving math problems. But why every 4 years? Because Satoshi Nakamoto said so, that's why. When Bitcoin was launched in 2009, every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoins were released into the mining pool so that the miners can mine them. Mine. Every 4 years, that amount is cut in half and is known as the halving. The halving last happened in 2020. Nowadays, the miners get to fight over who solves the math equation first. Over 6.25 Bitcoins released into the pool every 10 minutes. Currently, around 19 million Bitcoins have been mined. The thing with Bitcoin is that it is estimated that the last block of Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2140. Wait, 19 million Bitcoins in just 11 years? And you're telling me that the last 2 million will take 120 years? Yes, and that's because of the halving, which releases less and less coins into the network as time passes by. The last Bitcoin block that will ever be released in 2140 will only contain 42 Satoshis, which means 0.0000042 Bitcoin. Now, compare the 625, which is happening nowadays, with that number and figure out what the last miners need to fight over. It is well known that gold is a good hedge against inflation, constantly growing in value. Now, if you compare it to Bitcoin, as time passes by and less coins are being created, Bitcoin seems like a future hedge against inflation as well. In the last 20 years, the US dollar inflation averaged roughly 2%, while Bitcoin, on the other hand, sits at around 1.8%, which beats pretty much all the fiat currencies out there. In 2024, when the next halving will happen, the inflation of Bitcoin will be under 1%. Yeah, but how does it have value when it's backed up by nothing? I'm going to answer that question with another question. How is the US dollar valuable? I mean, it's only backed up by common trust, just as Bitcoin. If you want to learn more on this subject, you'll find a video linked into the description below, which will explain better what money truly is. So to wrap this up, in my opinion, Bitcoin is the latest wonder that happened to humankind and the next step into evolution. But don't listen to me, I'm biased, as I have some Bitcoin. Just like the internet, which took 2 decades for mass adoption, Bitcoin should go viral by the end of this decade. I hope this ages well. I'll go deeper into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in the future, so make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this kind of content. But what do you think about Bitcoin? Is it a genius idea or just some useless data? I really appreciate you watching this video until the very end, and as usual, until the next one. Respect.